Welcome back to the Guardian Alliance. Today we are exploring the axis of the Weaver and the Ambassador, the deep, churning, internal, emotional field that we must get a handle on if we're going to show up in the world and socially connect with each other, work with our sexual alchemy, and really feel the generative power inside of us to make a change. And if we are going to share that change with the world, we must open up our throats. We must learn and remember how to share the gifts that we are given and speak to each other with honesty, authenticity, and truth. Today, to share these beautiful concepts with you, we have two guests, Alex Fairman and Simon Sutton. Alex is the author of both the Weaver and the Ambassador course, and Simon is featured throughout the Ambassador course for his amazing communication skills, and he's teaching throughout that course as well. Alex and Simon, thank you guys so much for being with me here today. Alex Fairman.
Adam, thank you for welcoming us here and setting the field for this. I'm really excited for today's session because this is going to be an exploration of something that is alive for me in my own life. And Simon and I are going to be exploring how your emotional intelligence and the emotions you have within you are something that once you tap into and once you allow yourself to truly feel, they can be expressed in the world through the communication mastery that Simon's going to be helping us through. And I'm just really excited for this session because I think a lot of powerful things are going to come out of it. So thank you.
Awesome. I just say, yeah, I'm just following up on that really. Just let's dive in, and it's great to be here. And just great to have the viewers that are joining us, whether that be now or on the replay, because just in that commitment and dedication and choice to actually be here with us to explore the Weaver and the Ambassador, already that's a huge step in my mind of somebody who's ready to step into deeper communication with themselves and then out to the world that we're living in. So, you know, I'm inspired by the people who's with us today.
Yeah, it's so good to have both of you guys here again. And man, the courses that you guys created are so in-depth. They're so rich. There's so many different components that that people can get out of them. And also, you know, I'm sure there's probably things that you feel like maybe you left out of the courses. So if you're speaking to the people that were in that journey and moving through those courses with you, Alex, you know, what would you add to that if you could? If you could have added a skill or a technique or something to the amazingly in-depth course that is already there as the Weaver course, what would that have been?
Yeah, so there's a few more pieces that we're going to be adding also, I think, in the months to come. And when you get into Ring 2, you go in some of the higher levels. We're going to explore some of the other aspects of real emotional mastery, and certainly sexuality is a huge topic, and one that we really deeply need to explore as a culture, as a society, of what is sex really? And might there be a difference between what we've been taught about sex and it simply being a physical act and what's going on at an energetic level when two people come together? And how do we actually make use of that connection for the best benefit of both parties involved? You know, I would say a lot of times in a sexual connection, you're going to find there's a sense that both parties may not be on the same page, that the intentions that you come into sex with might not be aligned in a lot of situations. And so there's a lot of pain that comes out of that for people because it's such a vulnerable part of who we are. You know, when you're having sex with someone or when you're exploring that part of your intimate self, you're opening your doors to somebody else, and if they're not on the same wavelength, there can be a lot of trauma that comes from that. So and part of our work is doing that healing, of healing that. But even more so, what I would put in the Weaver courses to come is about the sexual practices that we can actually do together with our loved ones that we trust and really allow us to both raise our energy levels. And this is an area that has been practiced for hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years. And the sciences behind sexual cultivation is something that has been largely lost to us in the mainstream. But these practices do still exist, and there's some very interesting information that we want to share coming up. So that's one thing I would definitely put in there in the future.
Thank you, Alex. And what about you, Simon? In the ambassador course, we get this beautiful experience throughout that course of your face showing up again and again, and more than any of the other Ring 1 courses, you're really like this present face guiding people at each step of the way and giving sort of a visual reflection of not only the lessons but actually the way that you communicate and you share in the course. You have this piercing presence and gaze and direction, and you're just totally dropped in, and you're really showing that Jedi presence in the way that you show up in there. If there was something that you could have added to the ambassador course, or if you can see like what's coming next in the ambassador courses, what would you have added to that course to make it more rich that you could share with people now?
Thank you, Adam. Yeah. For me, the ambassador course, and gratitude here to Alex as always, just for the in-depth that we've gone into around communication. I think for me, funny, not just to throw in there the same as Alex here, but transparent communication, authentic communication actually does lead back to our sexuality. So I always say that the three taboos in life are often sex, death, and truth. This is really the whole essence of authentic communication, because so many people are scared of death, sex, and truth. So in the exploration of them, we experience even more fear. We experience even more shadow. We experience even more challenge. So if I was to add anything else to the ambassador course, or not if, when we do, is really the deeper depths and the tools required to really embody ourselves as we go deeper and deeper into our, and let's say into our death, because we really have to die to our old dysfunctional, unconscious, patriarchal, abusive, destructive separateness, the communication that stemmed from the foundation of fear. We have to die to that. And the hardest thing around that is that that's our identity. We've invested our whole identity, our whole life is based on that dysfunctional communication. So the ambassador course is really giving the basis and the foundation for a new communication from a foundation of love, authenticity, integrity, alignment, unity, this coming from that space. So really, as we go, as Alex and I, take, hopefully the people that are watching tonight who are already part of the ambassador course and the Weaver course, but even those watching tonight who are just fresh, seeing us three for the first time, then I hope that you're intrigued by what we're offering, because this is really about the evolution of humanity. I'm sort of at that stage now where I'm not showing up here tonight just to do another course around people trying to just speak good or sell a product or something. I'm interested in the evolution of humanity out of that dysfunctional, separate, just the war. All war has come from that communication that I was talking about. And if we want to see a world of peace, support, sustainability, evolution, serving the next generations 1,000-fold, then really this is what this is about for me. This is the ambassador course. This is giving me tingles on my arms. So that you're saying that Jedi stern nature, that's what we're here for. We're not here to play around. I'm not here to play around. I'm here to resolve the suffering from that communication that is completely out of line and not from the place that the ambassador and the Weaver are coming from. So that's what I'm feeling.
Yes, well, and you're hitting right on the core of it there, and in such a beautiful way. Because for me, the axis of the Weaver and the ambassador, the balance between our emotional mastery and our ability to communicate is really, it's an axis of truth. It's an axis of being willing to accept who you are. And that trinity that you shared is extremely powerful. Particularly, the ambassador course we tend to look at as part of the male trine, like the yang trine, in the Mastery Ring 1 series. You've got the warrior who's like, physical mastery, build your strength. The wizard who's like, focus your mind, still your mind, cut through. And the ambassador's like, share your truth no matter what. And And the masculine archetype, you know, in the alchemy of the world, the masculine is always driving towards the end, towards the completion, towards the death. And yet we're working to improve the world. We're working to help things evolve. We're working to break through to the next level. And that evolutionary imperative and that drive that's in that process requires a death. It requires us actually coming to a place where we let go of the way that we've been to step into what we're becoming. Now, Alex, you know, the Weaver course is in so many ways the opposite. It's actually about life, and it's about getting inside of all the life, all of the feelings and the emotions and all the stuff that's hidden under the surface. And it's a very feminine approach. It's the opening of this yin space inside where you really acknowledge and are willing to take into account the truth of how you're feeling.
Yes, and one of the things we talk about in the Weaver course. So, for those of you who are watching, maybe joining us for the first time and seeing this, the Weaver is the archetype of emotional mastery. It's the archetype we focus on when we look at unlocking our joy, when we look at allowing ourselves to feel. But what you see and what's going on for many of us is that our feelings can be difficult to accept. So there's a huge, huge subset of the population that is actively repressing that raw emotional nature, that childlike nature, which is actually beyond our control when we allow it to just move through us. And that loss of control is a frightening thing, because all of a sudden, when you're feeling intense emotions, whether towards the people around you or simply within yourself, it's as if you can't just go about your everyday life the way you want to, like a robot. You can no longer simply go from A to B to C throughout your day because you're feeling. And your feelings are asking you to take action on those feelings. Your feelings are asking to be expressed. And so one of the things we talk about in Weaver is that your sensitivity is actually your power. And you know, most people think of sensitivity as something that makes them weak. It makes them subject to influence. People think, oh, if I'm sensitive, someone can take advantage of me. If I'm sensitive, I'm easily influenced. But the reality is, if you learn to work with your sensitivity, you'll actually be getting so much more information about the environment, about yourself, and you're going to unlock your emotional nature, which is really where your power lies. I'm sure, Simon, you're going to go into this, but as you unlock that emotional nature, what we want to do naturally is communicate, because we are inherently emotionally charged and communicating beings. And so if you in your life, if you're watching this and you're thinking, you know, you go around about your day, things seem sort of routine, ho-hum, I go from this to this to this, I challenge you to consider that there's a deeper layer to your emotions that are asking to be unlocked. And that if you're willing to feel those emotions, you're going to receive a much higher level of personal power and ability to connect to other people. Now, when you first unlock that, when those emotions are coming up, we talk about this like, if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So when we're allowing ourselves to feel again, think of it like you're kind of breaking the ice on something. Like, if some of you have maybe killed your feelings, I certainly have for long periods of my life because of how intense my emotions are. The process of getting back into your feelings can feel completely overwhelming. And the good thing I want to tell you is that it's natural. It's natural to feel like you're a little bit out of control and you start having these intense emotions coming up. That's part of the process. And what you're learning to do is actually ride those waves. Learn to breathe and be with yourself. And through that, you start to know who you really are. Because your emotions lead you back home to what is really true for you. And a lot of times when you feel like you've lost your way, your emotions are here to point the way back home to what matters for you in your life and what you're here to do. So we talk about sensitivity as actually power for a Weaver.
Lovely. Yeah. Sorry, Adam, were you going to say something to that?
Just that, you know, I feel like oftentimes whenever I'm having a conversation with somebody or listening to someone speak, or even, you know, somebody like the president or somebody who's a whistleblower, like doing a major expose, you know, or video on the web or on the news, I find that one of my deepest sensitivities to how much I trust the person and what they're saying and how authentic I feel they are has to do with whether or not I feel like they're actually exposing their emotions to me. Like if I feel like they've got a lot of feelings that they're hiding, or they're, you know, there's an example of like this guy who's a whistleblower, Corey something, and he's been doing these interviews with Corey Gold, I believe, with David Wilcock for Guy MTV, and the guy's sharing all this intense information, very, very intense information, but he's delivering it all in this like monotone, I'm a robot, like communication format. And to be honest, it doesn't matter even how rich or how potentially true the information is. I don't trust him.
Right.
I don't trust him because I'm not getting that there's a real person's real feelings and real emotions there. Like, you know, you can lie to me with a straight face and a poker face, you know, but if you tell me something that I'm supposed to believe with a straight face and a poker face, I'm probably not going to believe you as well as I did if you told me something and you revealed to me what's really going on inside you emotionally. Or at least exposed how you're actually emotionally vibing at the moment to some extent, and then shared with me from that place. So it's like really, it feels like the honesty and acceptance of your own emotional field has so much to do with the integrity and your ability to authentically communicate what it is that you want to communicate. Do you have anything to add to that, Simon?
Yeah, wow, I think people just really absorb that, and you know, absorb what Alex has shared, and what you just sprinkled on top is, you know, well, no, because for sure there's so much there. I mean, we're talking about integrity, we're talking about emotional connection, then we're talking about, I love the word sensitivity, but if we just link that to vulnerability, again, something that, especially as men, you know, vulnerability has always been, or has been in, again, this foundation of a communication based from a place of lies and fear, then, of course, the vulnerability is being seen as a weakness. So everything we're talking about here is about the weakness. Then what happens is it's quite an ingenious cycle, because when it's playing weaknesses, the worst thing.
Oh no, we're losing you, Simon. Alex, you were about to say something, and then Simon, let's come back to you in a minute. Just maybe check your internet connection real quick, and we'll come back to you in just a second. Alex, you had something coming up, bubbling up to the surface there a moment ago too.
Yeah. So that's such a good point you made, Adam, about the vulnerability, about speakers who can show their vulnerability, connecting to an audience much more. You know, one really interesting example I think we all recognize right now is if you look at President Obama when he goes and speaks. You know, regardless of whether you like Obama or not, you know that he is under constant criticism and attack in his position as a president. And whether it's from the media, from his own party, from Republicans, from random people, from people who don't appreciate the fact that he's black, whatever it is, he's constantly under some pressure. And a lot of times it feels like when he goes up to speak, he's like holding it all together, you know, and he's like trying not to let any of that affect him, but you know that he's got to be stressed out at some levels, and you know that's there. And so he's an amazing speaker, but I agree. I think if he actually opened a speech with, you know, how I'm feeling today, and this is what's been coming at me, and just being transparent, I think that would make such a difference in the way he comes across.
Yeah, the best times I've ever seen Obama speak, honestly, the best times ever is on The Daily Show. Right. Because he goes in there to sit down, you know, and he goes in and he's actually sitting down, he's relaxed, it's like he's hanging out with an old buddy. And they're joking around, and it's real, and you can feel their emotion and their kinship in the space, and it's just so much more real than any State of the Union, you know, approach. People of America, we're gonna do change. You know, like that is doesn't work for me.
And I think we're ready for that. I think we're ready for presidents and for leaders who can do that at that high level.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys can hear me. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you.
You got me back on live, yeah. So there was some crazy dog out there. I was hanging loose here with the windows open, but that dog was not happy with our coming together tonight, I don't think so.
Dirty dog.
Shut these windows. Yeah, I don't know how much time we have to go into, I don't know what you lost there from me before, but I don't know how much time we have to go in there to talking about presidents, because from the reality and the societies that we live in today and the foundation of fear that's built those societies, and the fact that it's about, you know, big business, it's about competition, it's about, you know, domination, it's about power, it's about giving only the level of transparency that serves in order to fulfill an agenda. And so I don't want to get, I'm not going to get into conspiracy, because that's not what we're about with transparency. In fact, it's the opposite. So I would probably just say here that there's no president or no government completely transparent on this planet in this point in time. So I wouldn't really hold up Obama or any other president or politician or any person to be communicating transparently, whether they're on a daily TV show or any other TV show or anywhere else. They're all coming from a foundation of the lie. So, you know, so for me, with the Guardian Alliance, I'd like to pierce way beyond anybody referring to anybody in our current states, governmental areas, as being truthful. I just wouldn't. I would like to cut that personally. That's me. Because when I'm talking transparency, it's about what you guys are talking about. We're talking sensitivity. We're talking. You're not going to see a transnational corporation of Shell or anybody stand up and go, "Hey, yeah, listen. You know what? We are so all about the money, and we're in big competition. And you know what? We just had to wipe out a couple of people's lakes, and we basically poisoned the whole river." And you know, we've now wiped out some children, and we know that. But you know what? We really need to get as much Shell oil as we can shipped out right now. And also, you know, this whole, you know what? We're spending so much money on military right now because we just need to kill a few more people, because we need as much military power in order to hold our fear of losing our control and power. You know, I could go on and on and on. Who's having that conversation? Nobody's going to step up and have that conversation. So we're not getting transparency anywhere in our society. That's what we need to start from. We need to start from that basis.
Yeah.
We need to start from that. There's a lot of people using the word transparency, but there is not any transparency. That's where we've got to come from. What we're inviting people on this course, whether or not they believe it or not, is the opportunity to become transparent communicators in every single way right now. Lead the way from that place. And yes, it's scary. You know why? Because every single moment as a transparent communicator, you are vulnerable. Every single moment you are feeling sad, angry, you know, confined, unsure, uncertain. You're diving into the unknown. So when you're diving into the unknown in such a way, such a willingness, such a vulnerability, it's like it rips you open. It rips you open. It strips you bare. It takes you straight back to your nakedness. And you know what? That is, you know, when you mentioned one death earlier, that's like multiple deaths at once.
True that.
Yeah. So the thing is that this is like, there's a real serious, there's fun with this, right? I want to speak to everybody. There's a beautiful, fun, loving, it's all-encompassing. The experience of stripping yourself bare is really personal freedom. But to get there, you really have to uncover the amount of lies that you've been telling yourself, you've inherited from others, and that you're still upholding. And that's really what I'm going to throw in there for the mix. You guys can speak to that in any way.
Yeah, thanks, Simon. To be clear, I wasn't necessarily saying that the president's going to tell us the truth, but I do want to say, in terms of if there's measures and levels, you know, in terms of the times I've watched our president speak, the most authentic that I saw him was in a time when I actually saw him sharing more of sort of his real emotional sense to what he was saying. And that's the first step, really, because, you know, to get to total transparency, you're right, it's a big breakdown, it's a big opening up process, and every moment, you know, we have to decide how transparent we're going to be with what's going on inside of us. And there are certainly moments, you know, where, you know, you're walking down an alleyway, or you're in a certain situation, and there's, you know, there's people, and maybe you're going to do a talk, and you're going to walk out and you feel like crying because you just had a super intense thing go down. I don't know, for those of you that have ever seen the Katy Perry movie, that's a really good one right there. Like, I was surprised how good the movie was. It was amazing how well it showed her personal growth and transformation into the place that she stepped into. And like, Russell Brand basically breaks up with her, and she's got to go on stage. And so she's just bawling, you know, for like hours before she's got to get on, right to the point where she's literally on the elevator, and she's going up the elevator to get onto the stage, you know, and she's like drying her tears, and she's like, and she like goes up there, right, and pops out on the stage and does a show, right? Now, they don't show you what goes down in the show, but I saw Katy Perry live one time, and she came out, she rocked it. She just blasted this huge song, this whole series. There's like pyramids in the background and star people flying, and does extraterrestrial and Egyptian stuff. And then after she rocks it, she comes out and she says, so I'm not really feeling that well today, you guys, so I really need your help, you know, like, help me out, sing the songs along with me, my throat's a little bit rough, and I'm feeling kind of a little emotionally drained, you know, and she just exposed herself. It was like she walked out and she just took all her clothes off, and she's like, I'm kind of feeling rough, and I'm here to do this, because I'm committed to doing this for you guys, but I need your help, and you know, like, I really believe in you guys, you know, and thank you for believing in me. And at that moment, I was like, shit, I'm a fan, you know, like, this girl is coming out here and telling me the truth. And so, you know, there's a time for when you're gonna rip open the shirt and show your superhero colors underneath. And sometimes that takes patience and wisdom, and like, you know, approaching the right moment to do so.
Yeah. Alex, you want to speak to that, because that brings up something for me in the ambassador course around safety.
Go for it. I was going to say I love Katy Perry, but that's nothing that we don't.
Okay, yeah, that's something we don't know. So I want to speak to people again, just really listening and tuning into this. And you know, when I just shared, thank you, Adam, as well for clarifying. I got that sense from you totally. I know you wasn't saying that all presidents are speaking truth, but just to say that in order to communicate transparently, in order to go into that sensitivity that Alex is describing beautifully as well, it requires safety. So let's just really just take a breath in with that at the moment, because it not only is it scary on an emotional, a mental, or physical, on what's going on within, but let's get very, very clear that throughout history, when people have spoken truth, they have been killed. Right? Yeah. Let's not even go into, like, you know, yeah, they've been abused. Yeah, they've been physically, mentally, emotionally abused. But you know, also people have been killed. And the way that fear functions is that fear plays us, as we know, in propaganda, in the news, in everything. Right? We think about 9/11. We think about all these key fearful, you know, bomb attacks and so on in our media. They also play as great, you could say, reminders, you know, pivot points that keep the masses locked in fear. You know, even you could go as far as saying, or not as far, but even look at parking tickets, speeding cameras. All these little tools of fear in our society keep the masses, you know, keep individuals acting and functioning in a sort of controllable way. Now, when it comes to wanting to communicate our truth in any situation, even if it's with our loved ones, even if it's with our family, then it's really important, and I will keep saying this, and throughout the ambassador course, and maybe even a further section on this, we could do a whole section on safety. Because when I've been doing sharing circles and bringing large groups of people into a safe, sacred environment in order to feel ready to share their emotions, share their sensitivities, share what's really happening for them. It's taken presence, it's taken sensitivity in itself, empathy, compassion. It's taken, like you said, Adam, a wisdom and an intelligence to even be able to, create the space, right? To even be able to say, hey, it's a form of communication to even say, hey, I'm creating this space, and I'm bringing in the intention of not blaming, not personalizing, not assuming. I want to bring it back to myself, what I'm feeling. This isn't about pointing the finger at you. This is about us really creating a space where we can really share what's going on within us right now. What's going on within us right now. And we can even do a little exercise we can do a little sharing, the three of us tonight. I'm happy to just close our eyes, take a moment, and check in what's going on in the body, what's happening, why are we here tonight, what is it that we really want to share, and just come from that place of stripping back a few layers of that we're the Guardian Alliance and that we somehow got something that everybody should have and know, and this is the greatest course in the world. No. We're free men that don't, I know Alex very well. I've met Adam a few times because he's beautifully invited me into this Guardian Alliance. And we are free, vulnerable men out there in the world where we've seen and experienced our own personal suffering and seen mass suffering, and that we want to contribute something not only to the societies that we live in and to ourselves, but also to future generations. That's just a little nutshell. Yeah. So for me, it's like I feel safe in this space now with you three, even though we're talking to however many hundreds, thousands of people out in the world. But in this container that we've created, there's a safety. Am I right? I don't know if you guys want to speak about safety. What comes up for you, Alex or Adam, from that?
Alex?
Yeah, do you have anything? Because
Sure.
What's coming up for me is sort of on a slightly different. I'm going to take it a different direction. So maybe if you want to speak to it first.
Yeah, I'll speak to safety for a minute. So like last night I was in a space hanging out with some lovely people and just having some beautiful time and sharing deeply and vulnerably and authentically, and the housemate at the place that I was at. The two people I were hanging out with were women, and we were just enjoying ourselves and just totally relaxing, having these amazing deep conversations and private conversations. We created a space to have some counsel with each other about some very important things happening in the world right now. And this other person who lived at the house, who was a man, and who I'd experienced some kind of trust breaking with in the past many years ago with, comes out and he is screaming at the top of his lungs at us, literally just blasting us with curses and screams like, get the out of here, like I'm hearing you guys talking, and it was all this stuff because for whatever reason he felt not included or something, and that we were having we set this time to counsel with each other, and he was not invited into that because his actions towards one of the women has been, in a way, making her really uncomfortable around him, and she didn't feel comfortable sharing the stuff that she needed to share around him. She needed a space of safety, right? And so here she is in this vulnerable space, sharing with me and with our other friend, and he comes out and he's just railing. So immediately, I'm like, all right, here's the main problem. There's not safety. We need to restore that immediately. So, like, I stand up to the guy, I tell him to go to bed, and take care of himself. I get the girls, we go up, they get their stuff, we get in my car, and we leave. And I bring them to my house. And I let them stay here and, like, gave them a safe space and fed them and just, like, took care of them, And we were able to drop in even deeper and connect and share on the things that we really needed to share about because we created that space to be vulnerable and to really allow the truth and authenticity to come out of us. And sometimes you're going to be in a life situation where somebody is going to definitely come at you and attack your vulnerability. You know, Laura's been mentioning on the wall here that, like, that's one of the things that we're afraid people are going to abuse that vulnerability.
Right.
And if you are in a situation where you're dealing with an abusive person, it is absolutely fine for you to just, you know, put your freaking armor on and hold that space and face them, and don't let them see your emotions. Don't let them see that you're scared. Don't let them see that you're weak, and create another field where you're going to address their, you know, where they're at. It's okay to have that mask on when you're in that kind of conflict situation. It's also okay to even show something that's totally not what you're feeling. Like, you might be totally scared, you know, out of your wits, but you put on a, like, playful whatever, happy mask, like, it's cool, you know, in order to bring the energy out of this place where there's the fear and the anger into another place. So we can consciously use our emotions as tools as well, and guide the flow of the charge as we learn how to master that feeling to bring the energy into the space that we really want it to be in. And this is also really valuable sexually, because especially for young people coming into sexual encounters, a lot of times you're scared, it's intense, there's a lot of energy, you don't know how to work with it. But if you can learn to move that charge of that fear that you're having and bring it up into your heart and change it into intimacy and into love and into passion and fire, then you can deepen that connection, and you can bring it to another level much more easily.
Yeah, and can I, just Alex, just I know you're ready to roll. I'm just going to just throw just a little something in there if I can.
Please do.
Because that's lovely and beautiful what you shared there, Adam. And what you're talking about is you said the word mask, put on a mask, but I just wanted to maybe invite a slightly different way, and just this is a safe boundary that you're talking about.
Nice.
I don't know if you feel the same about that. Yeah, if I can sort of use those as two things. Like the mask is often, I feel sometimes termed as like we're hiding something, but what you described, it was the alchemical process that takes place with our emotions when we then use them as a boundary, because you said something lovely, yeah, the anger's there, the fear's there, whatever, but we can transmute that and use that as a seriously beautiful, powerful, transformative energy. And this is what I think that Alex really much talks about in the Weaver and in the Ambassador, and further work that we will do, is how to really alchemically transmute the energies that we have within, connecting to what we're really feeling, and then definitely transmute them. Like you felt that you needed to say, hey, no, I need to take these two friends of mine out of this space. It's no longer safe. That was a boundary you set. You said, hey, you go to bed, done. And that was you. You know, you didn't get into violence. You didn't get into the whole trigger of his pain body wanting to get conflict and create your pain body. It was like, no, let me dissolve this and let's move from here because this is not safe. And that's a very healthy boundary. That's an amazing, amazing thing. You could have quite easily gone into masculine, old school, patriarchal, who the hell are you coming out here shouting like this? You want some? You want some? Yeah, it could have been like, let's do this outside now, me and you. And, you know, and then it would have fed the pain body itself. It would have fed the fear and the pain, because the fear and the pain wants conflict. And I'm just going to leave it there because I'm mindful of time. And I know Alex has got something to share on this, but just to throw in there that the unconscious, non-transparent communication that we're talking about often wants conflict. And when we're talking about that strict, open, transparent communicator, the authentic communicator, when you become fully integrated in that ability to communicate from your truth, then you don't react, but you respond. And this is really key. So you're responding from a much more, and I mean all the other aspects of the Guardian Alliance talk about this, right? With, you know, in terms of the meditation and the presence and the connection, you know, this, I'm not saying you're going to master this the first time you do ring one, but, you know, the point is this is what we're pointing to, right? This sovereign being, this resilience. So I'm just going to throw that in there. That's what was coming through, just to sort of throw a douse on there around boundaries.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And you know, Simon, we talk about the pain body a lot, and how that, you know, the conflict, those unhealthy emotions that feed on a lot of us and that actually start to run our lives and gain a certain degree of power over us do want to generate more drama and more conflict and more pain.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really good point of checking that cycle and actually circumventing it into a better solution. So this has been an awesome exploration, and I'd like to take us into another place as well, where with the work of the Weaver, you're allowing yourself to feel. And from those feelings, you tap into your depth. And on the note of safety, we're talking about how, to communicate you need a safe space. Well, the same thing goes for allowing yourself to feel in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times when those feelings start coming up, the problem that we have is not that we're having intense emotions. The problem is that the emotions seem to demand us to take some kind of action. And for many, this can be overwhelming. For me, this is overwhelming when it happens, because I know I can't just sit here feeling what I'm feeling. I have to act. I have to communicate. I have to do something based on this. If I'm frustrated with the state of the world, if I feel this pain and this depression and I see the suffering of what people are going through, and you really get honest with yourself and you're like, well, there's a lot of suffering out there. The next thing that naturally wants to come out is, what can I do? But to ask what can I do is to then suddenly think maybe you have a role to play in all this and you can't just sit idly by, and that can be a very scary thing to feel. And so a lot of people who have a message to share with the world, or who have a great undertaking to go on, numb that undertaking. They would rather not feel it at all, because the feeling demands that you start to take some action in your life. The feeling is your call out into the adventure that is waiting for you, and it is the unknown. It is not, there's no guarantees of what's going to happen. And that's, I think we've all, I know all three of us have gone through this at different times.
Yeah, I'd like to just always, I want to acknowledge you in that space of feeling, because I know, person to person, in our experience as friends and deepening our bond, you've always been in that space of real intense feeling, right? Am I right in saying that? And that you really have, at times, I know you've numbed it and desensitized it, but you've also been very good at sharing it and expressing it, right? Even in those moments of where it's maybe uncontrollable. And what I love what you just brought up there is, it's so true to say that you need to find those safe spaces to even be able to say, I'm going to shout it, not too loud for the speakers, but like, I'm angry. I don't know what's going on. It's like, I don't know what to do. It's like, just to be able to be with somebody who will just go, not to say like they're going to fix it or they're going to have the answers, but just to go, okay, Si, cool, you don't know. No, I don't. All right, I don't know, but that's okay. And just be able to vent that, because in that moment, and I know me and you have experienced this, Alex, in that moment of sharing that, I don't know, maybe you can speak a bit more to this, but there's like a knowing comes through. There's like a release, and there's like all of a sudden you're like, yeah, do you want to go and speak to that?
You go. So what happens is, when you start to let yourself feel, right, whatever you feel, it could be heartbreak over someone you've lost. It could be a broken relationship in your life. It could be frustration. It could be extreme desire for someone or something that you haven't even admitted that you have a desire for, and it's just it's coming into you, and you want to like suppress it or push it away and judge it. But like, when you explore and you allow yourself to, like you said, Si, just start sharing that. Like, I'm feeling this frustration. I need to start to get it out. Like, you start talking through it. It leads you on a trail towards yourself, your real self.
Right.
And you've got to follow those emotional breadcrumbs, because they'll lead back. And usually, if it's anger, for example, so emotions have a structure to them, and anger is usually not the bottom level of the structure. Anger is usually what sparks to bring our attention to something. Anger is usually the bright flashing light that says, hey, over here, and then when you begin to explore what that anger is about, it goes deeper. And that's how you find your heart, is by exploring, why are you so angry about something? Right. And track it back. Don't just stop with the anger of like, oh, I hate this person, they're an asshole, I don't ever want to talk to them again. No, that person was a trigger to help you discover what is behind it and why you're so triggered. And when you go through that process, ultimately, 9 times out of 10, you're going to arrive in the end at a place of deeper understanding and power and love.
And bliss.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, just as I was saying about last night, you know, like all that I got from this guy coming out was his anger. It was just all this rage and all this anger, but that's not really what the problem was at all. It wasn't that we were doing anything wrong. We were just sitting around talking, you know, like we were just having, but it was that there was a deeper hurt going on. There's this deeper feeling of not being worthy to be in the conversation, or like feeling left out, or all this stuff that maybe just wasn't expressed at all for all this other time, and then it just built up, and because he didn't have any way to address that deeper pain and come to us and say, hey, I'm kind of feeling left out, like you guys, you know, like this is really hurting me and whatever, you know, instead he comes out to fight, you know, and like rail on us, and it's totally inappropriate, and that's the problem a lot of times with anger, and why it's such a dangerous trigger is that, like, by the time you get to the point where you're so angry and you're so pissed off that you can barely control yourself, like at that point you've stacked emotions, you've stacked feelings up, and you know, as you're raging, it's hard for you to even see where it came from, or even what's happening, or even what's coming out. So, you know, when that first flare of anger and rage starts to emerge, that's your moment. You got to catch it, and you got to go like, whoa, okay, I'm really upset about this. What is this really about? Like, why is this upsetting me so much? And that question, holding that question, can help you kind of start to dig in, and you'll find, you know, as soon as you admit to yourself you're really upset, you're really angry, and you want to know what's really going on, you know, you'll actually start to de-escalate the anger, and you'll start to actually go deeper into whatever the feeling is that's underneath it right away.
Right. And to say there that this going into the body, this authentic communication going into the body, like you've both described, and like Alex said about the unraveling, like where's that feed, which is the weaver, right? That's what you share in the weaver, in the videos that I've seen and enjoyed as well. And that's just a little note there, actually, just before I go on, that all of us in the Guardian Alliance are taking the courses that are in the Guardian Alliance, because they're so rich. They're teaching us as we go along as well, and take the little seeds each time and embody them and bring them into ourselves. So this isn't just about we're somehow the teachers with the hierarchical state. No, it is. I've learned so much from Alex's Weaver course, you know, and I haven't even started to dive into Adam's course yet, or, you know, everyone's course. It's like, and it's becoming more and more rich. It's just such a rich resource. But just to come back to this going into the body, and this is a little exercise for everybody today. Everything that Adam and Alex just described. So let's do this. This is spontaneously coming up now. I know Alex has some other stuff to share. But let's do it. The next time you feel this anger, frustration, whatever this so-called negative emotion is arising, and you feel it, like Alex said, and it sometimes comes and it's uncontrollable, then we want you to feel that and vent that. But we want you to go into the body. So where is it in the body? What does it feel like? What does it look like? Does it have a color? And then what I'm going to invite you to do is speak from the body. So I'll give you a very brief example. You know, wow, I feel that in the pit of my stomach. You know, oh wow, it's moving up. Now it's in my solar plexus. But wow, oh my God, right there, I got thinking of my dad. My dad's just popped up. Oh my Lord, my dad. Wow, why is he there? That's moving again. And my dad was like left me when I was younger, and wow, there's something in there around abandonment right there. Oh wow, it's moving now. Oh my God, it's in my throat. I can't speak. Oh, it's really challenging to speak about abandonment. Wait there. Let me just go over it. And you've got these eyes closed, and just see. I'm just giving you an example of some that I've experienced, but just see where it takes you. And as Alex and Adam says, we don't want to give you the outcome. We don't want to say you're going to arrive at this blissful place and it's going to be amazing. But just see where it takes you. Because as you go deeper within, you will go to where Alex said, which is you will strip away the layers of the veil of delusion and illusion and lies, and you'll go into that pain, and in the deepest wound, that's where your greatest gifts are. in your deepest wounds, in that pain body is almost leading you in to your full authentic self, which I know Alex touched on earlier. So that's just a little exercise that can be done. Yeah.
Word.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, nice one, Simon. That is such a deep and beautiful healing practice, and it's one that I've used a lot in my own personal journey. And you know, it's so potent to just follow the body trails, you know, the body pathways of emotion, and really sink in and spend the time asking, you know, what's this pain from? What's this piece here from? You know, and just following it, just like you said, and see where it takes you, you know, see where it leads you. And I love that you correlate that with our whole journey here through Mastery Ring 1 and the Guardian Alliance, because we're all exploring this together, and we all have gained amazing experiences and insights from doing these practices, but every person who's experiencing this is going to have their own insight, their own practice, their own awakening that unfolds from exploring themselves. And so really that's what we're encouraging people to do here, is explore themselves and go on that journey of self-mastery, you know, work on themselves. Like, we're not here to work on you. We're not here to teach you. We're not here to give you a box to live in or a superhero uniform to put on. You've got to get that superhero uniform that you're going to put on. You got to make your own castle. You got to make your own starship, and we're going to help you because we're allies. We're here doing it with you. So you can think of us as your friends, your supporters, your guides, your coaches. And we're like, go, 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 you can do it. You know? But we're not here to teach you or tell you what you should do or shouldn't do. We're here to guide you in unfolding your own self-discovery process.
Lovely. Beautiful. Beautiful. We're here to create the safety for you to strip away. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Alex, what's happening, bro? I know I think I'm mindful of the time, Adam. I don't know how we're doing, but I know Alex has got a few things to share on Weaver.
Yeah.
Well, I love the direction this conversation's gone. You know, Weaver's all about going with the flow and allowing yourself to feel into situations. And so I wouldn't say this should be anything other than what it's been, which has been amazing. And the wisdom that, you know, especially Simon, what you just brought through about following down to the pain and actually having that be your deepest gift is such a profound and important thing. And I think everybody who's listening to this or who does listen to this can find some value in asking themselves about those deep childhood wounds and what they are, and what are those things that are buried maybe within a few layers of that anger or denial, but beneath that, what is there and where is that vulnerability? Because that enables you to be that superhero. You know, most of the superheroes we see in these movies are inspired by a childhood wound. You notice that most of these characters lose their mom, lose their father, are beaten as a child. They're not like grow up in a perfect home and everything is great and then they become Superman. Like, that's not how it works. It's usually the result of the trials in the life that give us our source of true power. So when you look at those traumatic experiences you've gone through as your gift and as your inspiration, to find that power and to find that higher meaning for what you're here to do rather than being a victim to what's happened to you in your past, that's where you're going to put on the uniform, your uniform, designed in your own unique way.
Tingles. I got tingles over all my body, man. My whole body's just like if somebody could touch me now, they'd put it like spark or something. My whole body's going. Seriously, all my hair's on end. My spine is like. Seriously, because you know it's almost like I often say, it's all reverse, right? You've got to reverse what you've been taught, what you've been told. We've got to flip the pancake. You know, and we've got to flip the pain cake.
Yeah, there we go.
Nice.
There we go. Yeah, that's right. Like Yoda says, you must unlearn what you have learned.
Flip the pancake.
Yeah.
That one, Simon.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm feeling that's just, you know, that little summary is beautiful. I just want to, while we're here, I'm feeling very complete at the moment. I just want to say hi to everybody out there, and that, you know, this really is, I know Adam and Alex and mine, other team in the Guardian Alliance, you know, this is really our path, you know. This is taking us. We've been doing what we've all been doing work. We've all been doing personal work in many different ways. We've come together in different ways. We've met people along the way. The synchronicities, the intuitions, the emotions. They've led us here. And you know, if you're here with us, it's because you have also been led here in that same way. You know, it's so rich. It's so beautiful. I got tingles saying that. Wow. Ooze.
Truth speaker. So let's actually give a moment for our community here who's watching us to feed back to us and connect with us a little bit. For those of you who are watching the live session from inside the Guardian Alliance Academy, guardianalliance.academy, if you go to live events, it's the top one right now. Those of you that are here with us that are talking on the wall, Nico, Laura, Leandro, Dale, Iwa, Numi, any of you guys want to ask us a question or just say what's up, we'll give you a shout out. We'd love to talk to you and just hear, like, what's coming up for you? What emerged from this session? Like, what would you like to share and speak to us? And if you have any questions, we are totally here for you. We'll take just a little bit more time just to facilitate this connection and this community building process, because, you know, for us, the Guardian Alliance is not just about like sharing these insights and giving you guys guidance and letting you go off on your own and explore it. It's about these live sessions. It's about having this connection where we can talk to you and you can ask us questions and we can respond and we can create a dialogue. I also am happy to announce, in honor of the Weaver and Ambassador energies and how important those archetypes are to us, that we're going to start doing breakout sessions where we basically get everybody on a conference call together and jump into breakout groups and let everybody who's part of the Guardian Alliance actually meet each other, talk to each other, and get to know each other in smaller pods and then as part of a bigger group. And so we're going to start doing this probably in this next month, so keep an eye out. If you're not on our list yet or not taking any courses, you can go to guardian.is, sign up there, we'll send you info and let you know what's going on. There's also the possibility that you're watching this on YouTube, and if you're watching it on YouTube, there's a space right there in the comment area that you can also post any questions that you have. So Laura says, I think you should do a special one day that's at least 2 hours long. It flies by so quickly. And you know, Laura, I think you're right about that. We could do a longer session, but the thing that I think is always the challenge with that is that when people come to watch the session afterwards and they go to press play and it's like a 2 hour long movie that they're going to have to sit and watch, I don't know about you, but I often, when I look at a YouTube video, I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be 2 hours. I'm just like, part of me is just like, I shut it off right now because I don't have that time, you know? Yeah. But when you come to the live sessions, we're here with you. It's live. It's active energy. You can talk to us on the board, you know? And that's why we encourage people to show up on time. Come in. Be here with us, because it's just a very different energy than when you come in afterwards.
Yeah, that's a really great point you share.
Sue says, I love you guys. You are all awesome. So you guys just received that one. Thank you, Sue. And it's, other than that, it's a little quiet. So Alex, was there anything that you wanted to share to help starting to wrap up the session? And then if something pops up, we'll deal with it right at the end. But did you have a practice or something that you wanted to?
I just want to say, you know, so Weaver's a lot about exploring your emotions, and it's about your social relationships and the people that you love and care about and the circles that you're in. So we took a really amazing turn in this conversation, and I think actually this connects with what we've talked about really listening to your emotions and seeing what actions your emotions are asking for and what communication your emotions are asking for. So I would just challenge everybody who's on this call right now. I'm going to give you a little mission. you know, the Weaver is a lot about also connecting to people and building those bonds. And so ask yourself what relationships in your life, maybe an old friend that you've been meaning to connect to, meaning to reconnect to. There's something unfinished. There's something, a conversation that you need to have with someone, and you've been putting it off. Maybe it's just been in the back of your mind, or maybe you've just been thinking about somebody, and you're not sure why. I want to give you a challenge to go out there and talk to them today. Just reach out to them. Quick phone call, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Doesn't have to take long. But go in with the attitude of exploring what's there, and just really open yourself up to feel your appreciation and your connection to that person, and see what wants to come out of that conversation. And like Simon says, you know, see how honest and transparent you can be. If it's someone you haven't talked to for a while, really share how you feel. Really share what's going on with you in your life at this time. Because if you share that, they're going to feel safe to share their authentic truth as well. And you're going to have potentially one more awesome relationship in your life that's back at full power. So there's your mission for the day.
Mission. Will you accomplish your mission? Alex, I don't know if we can throw this in there as well, just for the ambassador course, for those lovely people that are on the course with us. Just keep sending your videos in. You know, I just want to make a note to anybody out there, if you haven't sent your original video from the course in, sharing what maybe your messages that you want to share with the world, then just inviting you here live, or if you pick this up on the replay, just get the camera on. There's nothing to fear. Share a few words. Share what it is that you want to share with the world, because that initial video is just a stepping stone. It's just the seed. It's going to bring up all the self-judgment and the bit of unworthiness, and oh, I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like the way my hair is. Oh, am I really able to share my message with the world? That's great. But just let's get that first layer of that up and then out there, because trust me, once you've done a couple of videos, once you've done a bit more of the course and you just dive in, that confidence is just going to continually grow just by expressing, just by sharing. It's the old cliche, practice makes perfect, but we're not looking for perfection because you're already perfect. What we're looking for is you just to practice your perfection because you're already perfect. Yeah? So just get sharing what it is that you want to express. So that's just, I wanted to throw that in there for the ambassador course.
Awesome. So we've got 2 practices. As the Weavers, go out, reconnect with someone in your past that you have an unfinished conversation with, something unfinished that you need to resolve, just need to talk to them, somebody who comes to mind that you haven't connected with in a long time. Go connect with that person, restoke and rekindle that connection. Bring them back into your life. And Simon, yes, those ambassadors who haven't created a personal video yet and shared it in the ambassadors hall, in the arena, under the arenas menu, under the ambassadors hall, please record a video, put it up there, share it, because you're absolutely right. Exposing yourself, getting yourself into the video and sharing it with other people. You know, we're here as a community to support you and hold that space for you to have that process and to have that experience, and to support you and give you good feedback and help you recognize your own perfection. And so also, Simon, you know, Laura really is encouraging the idea of doing the safety section, and I was thinking it might be a really cool sort of add-on piece to the ambassador course. If you wanted to do a piece on the safety section, we would put it in our new blog area where we have different categorical energies. We talk about different archetypes. We've got different live videos and stuff coming in on that area, and we'll put it in there and then also link to it from the ambassadors hall, so it can be in like an extra elective addendum for people to explore. Definitely excited about the breakout groups. Art of Transcendence says, love the session, goosebumps for sure. Awesome. Naomi says, oh wow, thank you so much. The guidance I asked for has come. Thank you. So thank you all so much for being with us here today. As Adam Apollo, I'm super stoked to connect with you guys and see you and spend this time with you again. And please come to the next live session. We're going to send out emails. It's on the schedule. We want to make sure that you can be there because the live sessions are really where it's at. That's where we really have fun and rock it out. And we'll also be sending you some information about the breakout groups that are coming up. And for those of you who haven't checked out the Guardian Alliance yet, you can go to guardian.is, sign up there, or dive straight into guardianalliance.academy and set up an account, grab your free course, and dive into Mastery Ring 1 when you're ready. So thank you guys so much for being with us here today, and I'll see you in the next live session.
Thank you so much.
Signing out.